Alright guys, welcome back to Modarra Monday. This is week 11 in the saga to make fully machined bracelets on my Haas VF2. We're making all the parts right here in Seattle in my garage shop. That is the plan. Today, we're going to be working on screws. One thing I did off camera, and I will say, I'll actually show them here in a second, is I made 3 more links based off the code from last week. I did some slight tweaks to op 1 and op 2, and I think we're really dialing in that link program, and so I'm excited. I'll show those later, but I want to really focus on screws. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking some 1/8" stainless and brass stock. We're going to be trying to use our same fixture here to machine screws like this. I have plans to make a separate screw fixture in the future, because right now this fixture only allows us to machine 10 parts at a time. There's 25 links on a bracelet, and I'd like to make like 50 screws at a time, and I have a way to do that, but I don't want to spend the time into it just yet. I want to dial in the process. If we can use this fixture to get the Founders series, which is going to be the first 10 to 20 bracelets out the door, that's what we're going to do. Then we can upgrade the fixture. So that's what we're going to do. And before anybody comments, why don't you make this screw on a Swiss lathe? It's because I don't have one. I understand, yes, I could outsource it. Yes, I could buy a Swiss lathe. I don't have $300,000-$400,000 sitting around just to go buy a lathe, just for a screw for a project in a business that I'm just starting. If you guys have that, go for it, but that's just not how I am. It's pretty wild to me, the armchair machinists in the comments, but I find it quite amusing. So let's go ahead. I'm going to show you guys the fusion, and then let's get to the machine and start making some parts. Alright guys, let's take a look at the cam I have for the screw that I've got programmed up. So pretty straightforward. We'll actually go over here so you guys can see some of the operations. So if we simulate this, pretty much all it is we're going to come in here, we're going to face, we're going to come down and contour this to diameter in 2 passes. We're going to come in here with a thread mill, and we're going to thread mill this. We're going to come up here with a little, let's see, what is it? What size is that? 1/64 end mill. We're going to slot the actual screw slot. We're going to come in here with a key seat cutter. We're going to add a little bit of a relief on the bottom, and then we're going to come back in here and we're going to basically tab off this screw. Now, I have made these screws before because I made a brass one and I made a few stainless ones to test that I can make these screws. So this definitely works. The few changes that we've done is the slot was a 32nd of an inch, so 32 thou on the last screw, and I think that's too wide. I want to go down to 1/64. I think if you guys can see that, it just looks like too much slot. I feel like it needs to be more screw face. So we're gonna make that a little bit smaller. It's not the craziest reduction, but I mean, 50% is, I guess 50% is a pretty big deal. So we'll notice that on the head of the screw, and then we are making the screws a little bit longer because if you see here on this screw, it's like sitting way below flush. I want it only like 5 thou below flush. So I think I made it 10 or 15 thou taller, and we'll adjust from there. The other thing was the original screw was like this. So it was just a threaded top section, and then the rest was reliefed. Now, what's funny is, so let me show you on my bracelet here. Let me take this off. So the way the screws work is they go straight through and they bottom out on a blind hole there on the link. What I didn't account for when I relief cut these was the original bracelet was using fully threaded set screws, like so. If I can pick one up, let's see here. So this was the original fully threaded set screw. I was basing everything off the diameter, the outer diameter of these threads. And if we just do this on camera real quick, outer diameter, call it 108. My reliefed part was 84. So if you haven't seen the issue with that already, is when we put 2 links together, like so, there was way more slop because of that smaller shaft diameter, basically. So we're gonna go and try the fully threaded option. It's gonna add a lot of cycle time, which I'm not thrilled about. And yes, I understand this is a Swiss part all day long, yada, yada, yada. If anyone wants to send me 300 grand to buy a Swiss, I would love that. But as of right now, no one's doing that. So we are making it on the machine that I can make it the best on. So that's what we're gonna be doing, and we're gonna try this out. So yeah, longer screw, smaller slot on the screw top, and then fully threaded. So we're changing 3 things here, and we're gonna see how it goes. All right, we are loading up a piece of brass and a piece of stainless. We'll do one at a time here. I'm gonna prove out the program before I line them all up here. And one thing I'm checking with this smaller bar stock is that it's square, so I'm just using a parallel to see that it's seated in there square. So now we're gonna probe this, and we're just gonna run just that one. So we'll do this. My dirty windows. Does anyone know how I can get my windows so they don't get this like coolant stuff on it? I don't know what that dried coolant is. I know some people put like the screen protector things on it, but I don't know if those are one of those things that work and then they don't work and then it's just like kind of there. All right, so we're gonna start with the brass one. This is a tiny little piece of material here. All right, so then, I guess I haven't really shown a lot of like me working on the control, so I'll try to do more of that. So we've got, our program should be G59. You want to probe Z. That's fine. That's fine. All right. Such a tiny little part. Can barely even see the thing. Now, I'm hoping this fixture will work with this. This small material is pretty stout for, I'm only sticking it out 1/2 inch. We only really need it sticking out like 300 thou or so. Okay, the next thing I have to do is I have to find a tool pocket to put this 64th inch end mill in the machine. All right, we have our 64th inch end mill. Now, we're gonna come over here and we're gonna touch it off. All right, that's tool 24. All right, let's go for it. I'm gonna turn coolant off. Okay, go around it 2 passes just to break up the amount of cutting there. Okay, nice. Thread mill time. You can probably still see good enough. I mean, this thing is so small. So I have this thing set for 4.5 inches a minute, 4,500 RPMs. This is programmed for 303 stainless. I'm curious, how much faster could I run this? I'm very new to thread mills, so I'd be curious to see what you guys have to say. I am going to bump up the spindle and speed here because this is brass, but I'm curious how fast could I actually go with a thread mill, because this is the longest part of the cycle for sure. I'm gonna get in there and adjust the coolant nozzles once, let's see, once it retracts for the first time here. But this is pretty boring, so I'm gonna skip this. All right, done with thread milling. We are slotting. Thread milling actually didn't take nearly as long as Fusion thought it would. I guess I did speed it up though. And let's see, now key seat cutter. So we're gonna do a relief cut, and then we're gonna do a part off. So that's gonna be the relief cut there. Now I can hear it cutting. I'm going to turn this off so I can see if this thing flies off. Oh, baby. It literally was like tipping over. I don't know if you guys can see that. So for brass, maybe this this little tab is a little too small. For stainless, I know it worked fine. I mean, this still works, but it's barely hanging on there. So for all the people saying buy a Swiss lathe, why do that when you have a mill? All right, let's take a look at it. Okay, these were those links that I mentioned I made earlier today. I made 3 of them. They look really good. There's a small nick in this middle one at the top, but that was right there. You can see it in the light. But that was because of my needle nose pliers, so I know what to be more careful about. But these look really good. I'm very happy with these. So this was, again, me changing some stuff, speeding some stuff up. There's still a few minor tweaks we can do, but I think for now, links for sure we know how to make. It might be slow the way we're making them, but we can make them. Now, we've got our brass screws, so let's go ahead and test all of these parts out. All right, so the screw we made was a little bit too long, and that was my mistake. And then we need a bigger relief cut for it to go in that blind bore. So we're gonna run another one and we're gonna dial this in. I'm also gonna add a chamfer. There's no chamfer on the top of this. So there was a little bit of a burr. A little bit of a burr there. But I am loving the smaller drive size. So I'm gonna have to take this screwdriver and modify it a little bit more. It's still too fat to get in that smaller slot. I'm going to be making a McMaster order. I'll try to find a drive for a flathead that is 20th hour. I guess it's got to be 15th hour smaller. So that might be difficult. I don't know. I'll have to look into that. All right, what I'm doing for the time being is we just finished another screw. We've got this little pip on the end of it. Now, what I'm curious is, I don't know, can you see that? I think you can. What I'm doing is I'm just flush cutting this, at least in this one in brass. So I flush cut it, and that gets me pretty close, but there's still, come on. There's still a little niblet on the end there, and I just don't like that as a process. I want to laser engrave a little M for Modarra on the bottom of the screw. That way the part is at least marked, but So I'm wondering if I made a fixture to hold this thing upright, I wonder if I could laser, just do a handful of passes of laser to make it flat, and then come in there and laser etch an M. That's what I'm going to try, but we're not going to do that in this video, but that's something I want to just start asking you guys. What do you guys think about a op2 for the screw? Other than that, the screw looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and, actually, I need to measure. This needs to be under, oh, perfect. It's a little bit further under. Actually, I don't remember what I programmed it at. The relief cut's at 76 thou. As long as it's under 89 thou, I feel like I did 10 thou too small, but that's still okay. So let's go ahead and test this. This one should work. All right, let's see if we can get you in here. Look at that, guys. That's looking pretty freaking good. It still needs to be a little bit taller. But yeah, that is looking really nice. Let's see if I turn this down, if that helps. Not really, there's just so much reflection. So let's try to make it a touch longer. Okay, I also want to show the before and after. So the top one is the 32nd of an inch slot, and the bottom one is the 64th. I think the bottom one much, like, I love it. I love it so much more. It just looks more, I don't know, watchmaker-esque. I feel like the bigger slot just looked pretty chonky, and I don't know. So I hope you guys agree with that decision to make it a smaller slot. All right, left is the new one. Right, you can see it's a little bit too much below flush. This one's just below flush, probably by like 5 thou. So I hope you guys can see that. Yeah, right there you can really see it. You can see it on the middle one there. So that was the latest improvement. Next, I think we're going to, let's see, maybe make one in stainless, but then I really want to try seeing if I can make 10 at a time and see how that goes. All right, version 2, 10x. We're gonna give this a shot. Now that I look at this, I think my stock needs to be moved to the other side of the fixture. But regardless, we're gonna go for it in stainless. We're gonna try to make 10 of them. As of right now, if I can show you guys, we now have a handful of new links on the bracelet with 2 brass screws. And I'm just going to rock this to see how I like it. I already know I am because it gives a little bit of color contrast to the bracelet. So without further ado, let's go. Okay, so it's unfortunately doing what I was worried it would do. With this large, actually I can just get this thing out of here and closer to me. So the problem is these holes are obviously quite large. And so this is allowing the material to have a little bit more play left to right than I would like. With the larger material, it's not a problem because there's not really anywhere for the material to go. And we have so much extra stock that we could be off by 10 or 20 thou on our links with the stock, and it doesn't matter. With this, it does matter because we're going from an 1/8 inch down to, so 125 down to 110 roughly. And so that only leaves us with, what is that? 110, like 12 thou, so 6 thou left to right that we have to be accurate enough. And the problem is this thing moved off center when it started doing the contour toolpath. So I think we're gonna have to stop here, and what we're gonna have to do is machine a fixture for the actual stock size. So this is 1/8 inch, so we'll go maybe like 0.13. Basically do the same fixture for the screw stock here. We might actually be able to utilize this fixture and drill a hole over here and then put a set screw on this side, and then we could actually utilize the same fixture. Actually, I take that back now that I think about it, because we are going to have to drill these out larger for our 1/2 inch stock. But something that I'm going to have to work on, and that'll have to be next week's video. But let's go ahead and wrap this video up. Okay, so update for the video. We machined multiple brass screws. We adjusted our heights or our overall lengths of the screw to actually how they fit in to the links. Very happy with that. And then off camera earlier, I machined some more links, dialed in the link program even more. One of the things that I wanted to mention was, if I take this off for you guys, is I mentioned in the last video that the links were getting undersized, and I thought that was because my tool was wearing. What was interesting though, and that's actually the main reason why I wanted to recut some links this morning, is because I wanted to figure out what is going on with that. So, remachined a link, I let it do the facing pass, I let it do the first roughing adaptive, measured it, it was 10 thou over, which is what it should have been. Then it came in and did the finish pass, and it was dead on, within like 1 thou. So the links that I showed off earlier in this video, these ones here, these ones are plus or minus, I would say 1.5 thou. They're almost all probably minus, but really tight tolerance compared to what we had was like 10 thou under. So I don't actually know why that was happening. Checked the toolpaths, checked everything. So kind of a weird scenario, but that has been fixed. I'm really digging these smaller slotted screws. Let's see if we can get it's kind of a bad thumbnail here. Let's see if we can get that. So, I don't know. Success on the links. I could not sleep some of these nights this past week because I was like, why is it undersized? It doesn't make any sense. So I'm glad that kind of self-resolved itself. We got links dialed in even more, I think. And then screws are much closer. So next week, we're gonna have to machine a fixture for the screws. I was wondering if we'd be able to get away with this fixture or not. Turns out we can't, which is fine. But I think I'm gonna do the same concept of machining a fixture of some kind with small holes, and we can just drop these rods in. And I have got a weird fixture idea I kind of want to try out. So hopefully next week before Sunday I can design that, because that's kind of the constraint, is I do all of this stuff on Sunday. And so sometimes if I'm lucky, Saturday night I'll start designing and programming. That way Sunday hits and I can just start machining and tweaking programs and stuff like that. So really good progress. Really digging these screws. These look so much better. So much better than the Allen keys. And the two-tone look looks awesome. I mean, they're not all going to be like that because brass is pretty soft. But I'm going to wear this. I'm going to enjoy the new links and be able to show off to people the two-tone look with these few screws here. So that's what we got. I'll stop ranting, but make sure you guys follow the Instagram. Drop a comment down below. Very excited to continue this journey with you guys, and I appreciate all the support.